Let me ask you something. Are you getting everything out of your rent-to-own business? If you're not an A-Pro member, then the answer is probably no. Look, advocacy is A-Pro's bread and butter. This is why they were created and what they do best. But here's the thing. A-Pro membership is about way more than advocacy. A-Pro connects you to the movers and the shakers of the industry, people who've been there, done that, and they can help you do it even better. A-Pro's monthly webinars give you expert insights and actionable takeaways. It's like having a masterclass for your business every single month. Got questions about complex regulations or sticky situations? No problem. A-Pro's legal hotline gives you direct access to experts who have got the answers. That's a peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And let's not forget the resources, news, updates, and tools that keep you ahead of the curve. Scholarships for your team? Check. Disaster relief when you need it most? Double check. A-Pro is your ultimate support system in the rent-to-own world. So stop settling for less. With A-Pro, members get more. More support, more connections, and more success. Head over to rtohq.org and join the A-Pro family today. Because in this business, more isn't just better. It's essential. See you at the top with A-Pro. Hello and welcome everyone. Here at the RTO Show, we are pleased and proud to have A-Pro as our premier podcast sponsor. So if you're listening, then I know you care about rent-to-own. And no organization cares more about this industry than A-Pro. Since 1980, A-Pro has been championing America's RTO businesses by providing them with legislative representation, essential education, news and information, market research, and awesome meetings and events. Find out what A-Pro can do for you today by checking out their website at rtohq.org. That's rtohq.org. Now on to the show. Hello and welcome to the RTO Show. I'm your host, Pete Chow, and today I'm talking to Jess Mahon in Ohio from Rent to Own, the marketing director, who's going to give us some insight on the art of marketing management. How are you doing today, Jess?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Pete.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is how you make all this magical madness happen, like we were just talking about. So you actually, I'm on the website, and we actually have people from Rent to Own who are doing the chat. Now, before I get into everything else, that was pretty cool. I thought it was an AI. And you said there's rotating people on your chat that do this all the time?
Yeah, so there's a group of 5 or 6 people that answer questions. They help with the customer needs if they need their customer number or their agreement number to make a payment online. They work in 4-hour shifts, I believe, every day, and they have normal days off, just like, as if they were in a store. But yeah, they work from home, they sit at the computer and get leads for us from our website.
That's awesome. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But for anybody who doesn't know Jess, why don't you give us a little bit of background on your rent-to-own history and what you have going on there in rent-to-own?
Okay, well, it's almost been 10 years for me already in the industry, which is crazy to think about because time just goes by so fast. But I actually started at Rent to Own in December of 2013. So it was right at Christmas time in the town that I live in. I started as an account manager. And one of the things that I remember on my first day was opening up Versarent and opening up, the collections call list. And I recognized a lot of the names of the people that were on my route. Because before Rent to Own, I had been an assistant manager at a bank here in town. It was sort of the same customer base, though it made it feel like even though I had left one job and started another, I felt like I was still at home, if that makes sense, because I was used to still seeing the same sort of customers. And it made me a really good account manager, I think, because they were already used to seeing me. So then coming in, making their payments to me, we had already established a relationship. I think that's the biggest thing that makes, a good collector is, the relationship they have with their customers. But so I did really well. And then I was only with the company maybe 5 months, I think. And there was an opportunity. Store manager had stepped down at a store that was relatively close to me, which was great. I was up for the challenge, was in that store. And that store, I think, had only been opened for, I want to say, a little over a year before I had got there. So it was tough. I went from this already established store to a small new store that, didn't have the customer base and traffic. So we spent a lot of time door hanging and making calls and community involvement. And really, we did Facebook. Facebook back then was not as big as it is today in our industry. So there's really for us, the structure wasn't even the same. If like a store had a Facebook page, it wasn't because the company had made it one. It was because the folks in that store created it on their own kind of thing, which is what we did. And back then it wasn't, business Facebook wasn't even a thing yet. So you just had a bunch of friends. So we just started inviting all of our customers to be friends and then maxed out the friend request every week on Facebook. And I think we gained like 2,000 friends, and it only had like 200 customers. It was crazy. So we actually had more friends on Facebook than we did on our active customer list.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was unique. We used it for sales and specials and things like that. It was cool. Then we were actually the best part about that is we were then able to convert that page into the current business page. So they just kept rolling with that momentum. And I think that store is up to like 5,000 likes or something crazy. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, and then I went to another store and got a chance to work in another store as a store manager. And then in the spring of 2016, my predecessor had stepped down and just Mike called me up and presented me an opportunity in marketing, which I was hesitant to take at first because I don't come from a marketing background. I have a degree in business and a degree in psychology. But he kind of assured me, like, you can't mess up. If something's not working, we'll change it. We'll be here to help you. You have a great, support staff and home office and people along the way. And so I took it and I tried really hard to learn as much as I can as quickly as possible. I was reading a lot and, just talking to some people. And then that fall, like 4 months of being in marketing, I think is when I was on my first panel talking about digital marketing and SEO and things like that. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now. I did start in a store. I have that connection with what I do. I can visualize myself being in that store because that's where I was.
Well, if anybody want to know what Jess looks like, if you haven't seen her talking at any of the shows, which you probably have, or you haven't seen her wander around with Mike, go to the RTO or the R2O.com website, go all the way to the bottom, and there she is on the right side, throwing up the peace signs. Who's that with you?
That is Kate Addy. She's my partner in crime in the marketing department. She's the creative director. So all of the assets that you see on any of our mailers or designs come from her. Really, her talent. She's really good at what she does.
So you have a counterpart. You do the marketing. She does the creative thinking. How does that set the RTO culture aside from the other RTO companies? How does that make you guys unique in your mindset?
Well, for us, with marketing, I think it's a love-hate relationship with the fact that there's only two of us. Some days we're like, man, we need some more people in here. But then other days it makes it a little bit easier for us to bounce ideas off of each other or, because I am in the marketing side of it, I'm in stores a little bit more than she is. So she'll ask, how did this work? What does this look like? And that kind of thing. So, and it goes further than just our department to the core of what the rent to own family really means. And I know that's going to sound a little cliche, but it's on our logo, it's in our culture. We really do take it seriously. We all just love what we do. We understand that it's a tricky business and know that there's ups and downs, seeing some stores struggling while others are being successful. It sometimes it's just hard, but we all know that we're there for each other. We can count on each other. We can, reach out to somebody else. We're all in, which is our 2023 mantra. We come up with one every year at our annual meeting. And I think the second part of that really is just the leadership team that we have, which really has nothing to do with me, but the home office and support staff. We have 2 district managers who each have 4 regionals under them. So 8 regionals total. And I think like between the 10 of those folks, just the 2 district managers and the 8 regional managers, there's got to be probably 150 years combined of total R2O knowledge in that group of people alone. So they have a solid understanding of the foundation of what rent to own is and how to grow people. And they aren't afraid to take the time and answer your questions and help you be what you need to be in this industry, which I think is really what it boils down to. If we had, managers who were micromanagers and, bossy, I don't think it would be as good or as fun of a place to work. But don't get me wrong. I mean, we very serious about what we do, but it all starts with that family. Like there's a lot of love in our company, I think.
Well, I think if you're in the rent-to-own business, there's always a strong passion. You're either passionate about getting it done or you're passionate about the frustrations that prevent you from getting it done. But either way, you put a lot of heart and soul to it. So when you said that is your go-to this year, the 2023, the all-in mantra?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So this year it's all in. So then what was it last year?
It changes every year. And honestly, it's just like you get so instilled with what you're doing this year. We've had like we're different. I think that's what it was last year is like diff, and then rent is in the middle. Like we're different. So it's like we have to be different than the other rent to own companies out there. Like how are we different? We're teachable. We care. We honor what we say. Things like that. Like I said, this year it's all in. It's just like, don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid. Don't stay at the bottom. Like it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to know that, this industry is hard. Your business is hard, but you have to get up, do the work, do what needs done and get back, going. So, and then everyone's on the same page. So reach out if you need help. That's kind of what the all in message is.
So I got a question because I was very unsure about this and I meant to ask Mike about this when he was on the show and I did not, but you've got the rent to own moniker, right? And it kind of incorporates a lot, but then you got the Countryside Rentals. So is it Countryside Rentals doing business as rent to own or is rent to own can you help me out with that? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. We honestly get asked that a lot, I think, or I feel like when I'm at the shows and things, they're like Countryside Rentals, and it's weird for us to hear because we go by rent to own. So it is Countryside Rentals doing business as rent to own.
Okay. So you've got this 2023 idea that you're all in. Is that culture really bringing you guys to stand out?
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, the message or the tagline for the year really kind of stems from, I'm just going to say like the business message that Mike presents. So we have an annual meeting every year that usually takes place in February. And at that annual meeting, there's awards presented and we talk about the business a little bit and we go over, we play games with each other. We have a nice lunch and there's a car giveaway. So we spend an entire day on a Wednesday even. So all of our stores close for that day where we just are celebrating rent to own. And we acknowledge some really good folks in the company that have done really well throughout the year. And in that, Mike talks about, the business, like the ups and downs of the year that we've had, some, things that are happening like throughout the industry as far as trends and, products. For example, the PS5 was really hot. Now it's not. So it's like everyone has to be all in on making up that revenue that the PS5 generated because it's not going to be that this year. So he kind of ties whatever his business message is into the mantra. So it is effective, I think, for us to change it every year because the message does change every year, but it's not meant to be like, we did bad last year, so let's be better this year. It's more of like, let's just be all in. It's a new year. It's a fresh start. So we make something new. So we're not carrying that old feeling from the last year if it was a bad year kind of thing.
Helps you blend with what's going on currently.
Yeah.
So, again, earlier we were talking about having somebody who literally pops up on the screen and they're talking to you and give you some information if you need it or some direction if you need it. Is your CRM different compared to the CRMs that are being used in rent to own? Or have you noticed that is it a blanket CRM that you guys use and you kind of just make it fit for what you guys are doing? Because one of my biggest complaints is I hear that the CRMs that are available out there are not, they don't pertain necessarily to rent to own. And a lot of rent to owns have to take it and tailor it. And I see that when she popped up and it's an actual person, are you taking something out there that's already built for retail and kind of just making it work for rent to own? Or do you guys have one that's really set up that is rent to own friendly?
So our CRM that we use currently is actually has nothing to do with our chat platform that we use. So we use a program called Zendesk for our chatters to use. And that is a retail site that's, you can do chat on any site that you want. So it makes it a little bit easier because the chat side of it doesn't have to be tailored to rent to own because it's just conversational based. Whereas the CRM, however, I agree with you. I think that for a long time, CRMs have just been designed for retail and molded into the rent to own world as best as it could be. And then that left companies filling in the void for things that they needed to do and get accomplished. For us, we use the R20 digital platform with Wow Brands. So I was actually fortunate to sort of be involved in that process from the beginning of it coming to life. We've used Wow Brands for several years for our website. So we've already had that relationship there. So when they brought the idea of creating a CRM for the industry, I was like, okay, well, here's a list of things that we would like. And I just kind of like spoke from my experience at Rent to Own and said, here's what the industry needs as the checklist. And I think that what they have built so far is pretty good, and they've done a great job of putting something together specifically for rent to own. But I know that like First to Rent now or Ideal has a CRM that's designed to make the lead to sale process a lot easier. I think having everything in one place is fantastic. I don't think that we're quite there yet with anything that I've seen, but we can, for what we do on our 20 digital platform, we can take our chatters and have them fill out a lead form, and it does go into our CRM. We can, all of our online leads filter into the CRM. We have what we call community leads, which would be just like walk-ins or leads you would get from a customer in store. We can put those in the CRM. So we're getting a lot closer of having everything in the same place.
So basically, we're using the online chat to funnel them into the CRM, which for everybody out there is a customer relations management software. So if we're talking about CRM, that's what we're talking about, what they use on websites and to tailor the customers to get them into being an actual customer. So we're using the online chat to funnel them into the CRM, which then creates a leaderboard, or at least a board where people are going to be contacted or messaged depending on what it is they want. And then we're going to try to open them up an agreement, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So getting people to your site. So then you've got this new CRM that you guys are working that's a lot more tailored to rent to own than it had been. You've got somebody sitting on the chat. What are some of the most effective search engine optimization practices that you use that would separate rent to own from the retail, right? Because sometimes you put in sofas or bedroom furniture and you're going to get a plethora of things, and we'll just throw them in there because they're great to our industry. But let's say Ashley, and why would they go to Ashley versus coming to our site? What do you use to kind of differentiate the wording so that they'll come to a rent to own store's website?
So SEO, search engine optimization, is really just a clunky way of saying to Google and other search engines, but mostly Google, who you are, what you do, and why they should rank you above everyone else who is searching for the same thing. I would break it down really into 4 parts. Is for me, we're lucky because our website is literally just r2o.com. But I think first thing is you have to blast your website everywhere. I mean, I know this is going to be redundant, but even on your website, you have to have your website. That's an important thing. Letting people know where to find you is like the biggest thing. It really isn't searching for you, but they're going to search for you if you show them where to search. Also, like you had said, focusing on keywords that aren't industry specific. And what I mean by that is you have to use keywords that tell what you do, not what you sell. And that sounds crazy, but things like rent and lease and even branded keywords that have things to do with your company is going to be more impactful than using the words like you had said, furniture or even electronics, or using the brands or specific products that traditional retail would do. Because if you do that, I feel like you're just wasting your money because you're not going to compete with, Ashley Home Store or the bigger chains of retail. But number 2 is you have to make sure your website is full of good content. I think that I've seen a lot of websites update and refresh, and I think that a lot of the sites that I've seen in the industry are a lot better from, say, when I looked 10 years ago kind of thing, even ours. But making sure that you're putting out good content and updating your website regularly and just focusing on who you are, like I said, and making sure, this is important too, is that your website is mobile friendly. I mean, I would probably move that to the top of the list because, as I'm sure you know, Pete, like almost 90% of your customers probably shop from their cell phone, or it's crazy high. So customers are on their phone and they don't want to wait long periods of time for your page to load. And lastly, this is really important, is just finding a partner in a company that understands SEO and how what we do in our industry is very different than traditional retail. So understanding rent to own is a must. We use Wow Brands. We have a great partnership with them, with Ryan Crass and his team, because I'm not even going to sit here and pretend that I could give you a presentation on Google Analytics. There's just so much information that's put in front of you with graphs and charts and numbers and things like that. But we're very lucky to work with them, and they understand it and they explain it to us. And I ask a lot of questions. And let's be clear too, Google is very much a pay to play environment. So you cannot be afraid to spend money on Google and see the results, but also understand that those results take time.
So there's two things I wanted to ask you. The first one, you said like up to 90% of your internet traffic is mobile. Is that right?
Yeah. It's like 87% of our users on our website are coming to us from their mobile device.
Well, everybody, if you're just to kind of let you know, if you're not dialed into the mobile network, and I've noticed that as well on my site as far as the podcast go, is that I'm about 85% as far as mobile, and then I have a 10% that are from desks, and then I have a 5% that's in other. So 85% of my traffic is exactly the same. But then, so I'm on the website, and I noticed, unlike everybody else that I normally see, I see a $33.99, I see a $29.99, I see a $22.99. I'm actually seeing even numbers. Is that something to make you stand out, or is that just the way you guys price things?
Let's take a quick break.
Hey everyone, it's Pete Chow here from the RTO Show podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space, Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing. And let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and TRIB? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together. They design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too.
You know, that's just a recent change, I would say, in the last year or so. We just went to even numbers, and it just is cleaner. It just looks more sharp, just like a round number. Instead of saying like, oh, this is $44.99, we're just like, it's $45. Like, what's the extra penny really going to matter, right?
Well, I know back in the days, it would say it's a mental thing. You know, we can actually say that it's less than $50 at $49.99. It's like, no, it's $50.
I mean, it really kind of came from us just like talking, right? Like if you're talking to somebody else that you work with and you're like, you know, the laptop that's $44.99, and you're just constantly saying that, no, you're saying 45. So if we're saying 45 because we're rounding up, your customers are too. So we just made the change.
So now you have 90% web traffic. Now, when you're talking about the completion of sales, actually people getting onto an agreement that weren't on an agreement before they started their trip to the store or trip to the online, how much would you say your walk-in traffic has declined that you're actually closing? Is it the same as have we gone down to 10% physically, or is it still somewhat there? Maybe we're just not closing all of them, just like we're not closing all the online leads. Like, is it really down to 10%, or are you guys seeing a little bit more walk-in traffic than 10%?
No, I think that it's about the same, but I think that we've really dialed into the in-store traffic a lot better than we used to do. And what I mean by that is like traffic has declined in store, you know, especially since COVID happened, where everybody just got used to shopping online. So now it's kind of like, well, we don't know if we'll ever get that foot traffic back. So we, you know, spent the last couple of years kind of like, we're still here. So we treat the customers who come in store like, you know, gold, like literal gold. Like, do you want coffee? Do you want, you know, can I fluff your pillow? Like, not to that extreme, but we really make it an effort to close the folks that come in, or at least get a lead. Like, what are you interested in? They're looking at a refrigerator. Okay, I'm going to take this note. I'm going to put it in my system to follow up in a couple of days. We really work the in-store traffic a lot better, more thorough than I think we used to. As far as the online traffic, this is just, my opinion, but it's facts. They're out there. 80% of shoppers will check you out on Google or your website before they commit to the sale. And Google says even 87%, so it's relatively close. And also, like, you have Facebook saying that 65% of shoppers will look you up on social media before they come in. So those are really high numbers. If I had 65 or 80% of my customers coming in the store, like, that would be like crazy. I would love those numbers. But I would say if you have a really good online presence and they don't commit to you online, they're probably going to come to you in store if they're looking at, what we offer, rent to own. But you can easily get 30 to 40% of your business from your online traffic. That's where we typically stay. We typically stay between 30 and 35%. But I will caution you and say that getting those leads is the easy part. Like I said, our website is really short and we blast it everywhere. And we do Google ads and things like that. So getting our name out there and getting the leads from the online traffic is easy. Now, closing them, that is where, I think we all can improve, and we all look for ways to make that better. But getting that customer in an agreement fast is where, we all tend to struggle. If you don't answer that customer fast enough, you risk losing them to competition, right? Mike always says, I hate the thought of a lead coming in at Saturday at 5 p.m. because we close at 4 on Saturdays, and then having that customer sit in the queue until we open Monday morning. And that's something that we're working as a company to get better at. And I think that finding the right CRM to manage those leads is why that's important.
I can't agree more. I totally understand. We're always trying to look for new things to make it better. That's one thing I love about Rent to Own, Jess, is that when we're doing things and we find out it's not working, we as a company, we as an industry, we as a people look for better ways to make it better. And then, as you move on, you'll see 2 to 3 years from now, we're not what we were 2 to 3 years ago. And 2 to 3 years ahead of that will be different than we were, in the future. So it's like every 2 or 3 years, you see those notches where we used to do this, but now we do this. We run our website this way and we say certain things on the website to attract these customers, and we move it from here to there. And it's really nice to see, especially since I've been able to talk to a lot of people in the RTO space about the different things that we do and how we do them and the education that comes with it every year and how we change it up from what we learn and what we know. It's just an ever-growing system. So with all these additions, with all these great things that you've done, you've leveled out the pricing, you have an RTO.com name that you can blast everywhere, you're trying to put live people on the chat, and you're taking people and funneling them into your CRM. Those are great things. What about those things that don't go so well? What would you say, Jess, has been a tremendous, oh my goodness, I can't even believe we did that. One of those crazy things that you learned from and said, we probably shouldn't do that again.
Wow, let me think. There was one thing. It just makes me laugh because we tried. We really did. We wanted it to work so bad. It's something that we called R2O to you, which was a process that we tried to set up where the customer selects the product online, they complete the rental agreement online, they get approved online, and then all the customer has to do then is just set up a delivery day. We will ship that product to them at their house for free. So the customer doesn't even have to come in. They don't have to call us or anything. It's all automated and done online. And of course, we limited the products to I think there was a bed in the box, some TVs, game systems, and a few other smaller things. But you would think that as I'm telling you this story, that we had this idea and started this after COVID, but no, we had this idea and started mocking things up. I want to say an entire year before COVID, so the spring of 2019, and we wanted it to get ready to launch for fourth quarter, and we were so excited. We were like, this is going to work. This is what our customers want. They're online. They're online shoppers now. We were really excited. I mean, we marketed it everywhere. We had it on every mailer, email campaign, social media. It was a giant feature in our wish book that year, and it just flopped. It did not take off. Our customers were just like, yeah, that's cool, but can I go in and see Amy? in Circleville, or can I go to Zanesville and see Richie? Like, even though we provided this opportunity for the customers to get everything that they would need online and not need to come in, we had a few people do it, but they would still call their local store. They still wanted that interaction with their local store. They wanted that connection. And I think, honestly, that was the first time that I had this aha moment where I realized just how special it is what we do. Not only do we help customers own incredible things and provide them opportunities, but it's the journey that they enjoy also. And I think that sometimes we get lost in what the customer journey is. We tend to look at it from a very transactional point of view, as far as, okay, the customer submitted a lead and now we have to get them in a rental agreement, and now we have to get them to pay on time. Okay, they're about to pay out. What can we get them in now? And we look at that journey very transactionally, where the customer looks at it like, I get a nice couch or I get a nice refrigerator and I get to go in and talk to Amy, and she's asking me about my day and she knows about, my surgery I had last week, and I get to show her my kids and she communicates, with my dog and, things like that. I think the customer journey from the customer standpoint is very different from the way we tend to look at it. And I think watching this flop because customers wanted that connection to their local store, I was like, oh, I really get it now. But then also it made it a little more challenging when 3 months after that in 2020, everyone's locked in their houses and we're all masked up and can't go anywhere. So it's like, well, we know this doesn't work. So what now? It was challenging.
I can only imagine. I wouldn't say it's a flop. Would you say that it was at the wrong time frame and maybe that's something coming down the pipe, or do you think that's probably something you're going to stay away from?
Yeah, when I say flop, I say it was just the wrong time. I think there's always an opportunity to take that idea and make it better. Especially, I think that there will be a time when customers, like the next generation of customers, people in their 20s and things like that, probably are going to want less interaction with stores. So that, yeah, you're right about that. I think that when I say flop, I just mean like, we needed to wait a couple years for that idea to come to fruition, I think.
Or maybe just 3 more months.
Yeah.
Just a little bit longer.
Even then it was crazy. I would say we didn't go back to the direct ship idea because we just came off of it, not working. But customers, I don't know if you experienced this, but they still wanted to come to the store. We had no problems with, we actually had to tell customers, like, you can't come in unless you're wearing a mask, or, if you're sick, stay away. I remember, putting those signs on the doors and stuff. And so what we did for the COVID thing was curbside pickup. And that was a huge success.
I do remember those days. Unfortunately, I wish I could say I don't remember any of them. It's been crazy. Almost the entirety of this podcast since it's been open, we always refer to those days again, like, oh, you remember the COVID this and you remember the COVID that, and how it affected this and how it affected the business and our customers and our transactions, the cash flow, and how we had to figure out if we were essential or not. And there's so many things that went with that. It literally upended the whole entirety of rent to own, kind of set it sideways and said, okay, you can do it, but you've got to do it within these parameters. Now, what are you going to do? And it just made so many of us think outside the box. And, when you're talking about establishing new ways to do things and getting things done, it's always good to look to the future, and it's always good to be forward thinking. But did you have any help? Is there influential people in your life that kind of helped you think forward thinking and kind of helped you settle into RTO and made it better? Do you have a few people that maybe mentored you or kind of just gave you that words of wisdom that kind of put you on the course you're on now? And now a word from our sponsor. Vox Pop Uli is the best graphics production agency in rent-to-own, offering turnkey service from design production through fulfillment. They offer printing and production, catalogs, and a ton of creative services. Andrew and Siji Hadjic have the knowledge and experience of working with rent-to-own for years, and they make it easy to get your brand recognized and utilized. You can contact them at 770-476-5112 or visit them online at vox-pop-uli.com. And now back to the show.
Absolutely. They're not in the rent-to-own industry, but cannot go without saying my family for sure. I mean, I'm super close with my family, my parents, my siblings. My grandma is literally my best friend, and also my fiance. He works in the industry, so that's very nice that I can come home and if I'm frustrated, he gets it. If I had a great day, he gets it. But without their support of changing careers from the banking world into rent to own, and then transitioning from what I was doing in store to marketing when I didn't feel confident, I would say like I couldn't have done it without their support at all. And then inside the industry, I think that the vendors are amazing. Like we have some really great vendors inside the industry. And it, I think that they were a crucial part for me to be successful. And I wouldn't be where I am today, I don't think, without a few of them. I'm lucky to have formed some friendships over the years. And like, for example, Kevin Silvers, everyone knows Kevin. But man, in the beginning, and
Everybody knows Kevin.
everybody knows Kevin. He's great. He's good. He's good people. But he, in the beginning, and still does today, connects me to different people throughout the industry. And he shares ideas, with me. If he has an idea, he'll call and be like, "Hey, I saw this sweatshirt idea, and what do you think about doing it for you guys?" Or one of our district managers then was on vacation, and he just calls Kevin up and is like, "Hey, I saw this tire koozie. We sell tires. What do you think?" And it's just a great thing to have a relationship with someone like Kevin. And he also like encourages me like just when I need it. Like, I don't know if you remember when the ELC group, the emerging leaders group, was kind of like formed. I think we only went through like one round of it because then COVID like boom happened right when it got launched. But he called me up and he's like, "You would be great at this. You should do it." And I'm sure he told 50 other people that he knows the same thing, but it made me feel really good because when you're around Kevin, he just has a very unique way of making you feel like you're important when you're talking to him. And then another vendor would be Morty Smith. So, back in his imagery days, we used them for some things when I first got to marketing. And I remember just asking him so many questions, one after another, after another, after another. And then at our annual meeting that year, he just made time to sit down with me and he explains, everything direct mail. I mean, he went through everything, EDDM, marriage mail, postage, examples, and, showed me examples of carrier routes and things like that. And it was just really awesome having someone invest their time into me to help me learn. I can never thank them for that. And there's been so many others too. And then of course, Mike, he's definitely been a mentor for me. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be in the position I'm in if he didn't believe me or believe in me.
And we're talking about Mike Tissett?
Mike Tissett, yep. The Mike Tissett, the one and only.
The one and only.
It's just an incredible feeling to know that, he has your back even when you don't feel like you're worth it or you're good enough to, do what you're doing. And then, of course, my partner in the marketing department, Kate. I mean, like I said earlier, we just bounce ideas off of each other, and she's talented at what she does. So, yeah, I'll stop there. I know that was more than three, but
No. I mean, it's nice to put those people out there and let them know how you feel. I mean, first off, Kevin Silvers from King of Promotions and Robbie Tyson, they do a great job. I see Kevin everywhere, whether it be literal or whether it be through pictures, and he does get around, and he is a big, big part of what happens in the rent-to-own space, that's for sure. Mike Tissett, absolutely huge in the idea that he's not only the president of Trib, but he also gets around to a lot of the events, and he's a force to be reckoned with, right? He walks in the room, and you just kind of know he's there because he's there, and that's something that not a lot of people have, but he does it, and he does it very well. Being very connected to the RTO space in the industry really helps promote what we have going on, and he's really good at it, and it really helps to have him on your team. So that's of course, that's always amazing. And then when you have somebody at home who understands, you didn't say his whole name, and I don't know if you want to put his name out there, but your fiance being a part of this and actually working in the industry, does he work for Rent-to-Own as well?
He does. So we actually met. It's a funny story. I won't get into like the whole thing, but I was hired to work at his store. So I worked under him when I got hired. I was his account manager, and we just bumped heads though. I'm telling you, and it was because I think that he's grown a lot throughout the years, but he just was he was kind of a newer, fresher manager at the time, and had stuff to prove to himself and, to his bosses. And here I am, this just new person. And I'm like, okay, I can't work under you. And that's kind of why I volunteered to help at another store, not knowing that I would be moved permanently or given the opportunity to manage another store. But then after I had went to another store, I was like, oh gosh, I'd only been with the company for 5 months. I hadn't really networked with a lot of other managers. So I'm like, his name's Richie Baker. He's the store manager of the Zanesville store. I would be like, hey, Richie, how do I do this? So I learned very quickly, like, it was a very humbling experience. Like, here I come into this, job, and I'm like, and then, so that's kind of how it all happened. But yeah, he's very supportive, and having somebody understand like the ins and outs of the business is good. But we do keep it very separate too. I mean, you have to. I mean, we give each other like 10 minutes to vent if it's a bad day and kind of move on with our day. But it's good.
Put it away and then move on.
Yeah,
right?
we have to.
So how would you say, with everything that's happening and all the people that you know and all the people that have helped you getting here, you said it earlier that the space of social media has changed from the Facebook that you did, let's say 10, 12 years ago to what we're doing now. How would you say that social media really has changed the face of rent to own and how we do things as far as an online space?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is that you're where the customers are. You're like, talk about being in their back pocket. I mean, you're literally in their back pocket on their cell phone. And it's has sped everything up, honestly. The customer has a voice. I mean, they have no problem letting you know what they like and what they don't like, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys have a complaint center or something like that, but I mean, they'll comment, they'll let you know, they'll, write a review and tag you in it on their page. So you have an opportunity to fix issues or address issues quicker than maybe you would have in the past. And then also, it's just everything's happening in real time. There's a lot less expense to it, I think. I mean, Facebook is becoming a pay-to-play area, but it's not, even though it is kind of, it's still like so much less expensive than, mailing out 85,000 mailers. You can take 10 minutes or less. I mean, you do some great videos. I've seen some things that you do. To the hardest part of that is coming up with a concept of like what you're going to do. But let's just say you're doing it basic, you're posting or you're going live, 10 minutes, like, I want to sell this product. Here's my caption, or I have this message. Let's go live. Let's do it. And say you want to boost it, spend $50 in boosting it, and you can still reach thousands of people with $50 telling the same story as if, would take the time to design a mailer and figure out then who you want to send it to, the list, and then send it to the printer and then get it mailed and then waiting for the customer to receive it. It's just created this fast-paced environment for us to reach our customers.
With all the changes that are happening, because that is so true. I mean, things happen at a different pace now than they did. It costs a little bit different to interact with your customer base or your potential customer base. So when we're talking about the Facebook and the social media, do you guys do anything in Instagram, by the way?
We do. We do have an Instagram. Most of our Instagram content is just, I don't want to say copy and paste, but pretty much just from the Meta platform, basically the same thing that we have on Facebook, with the exception of some reels. And we just did a live for the first time on Instagram a few weeks ago. We don't have as big of a following on Instagram as we do on Facebook. And it's harder to reach our customers on Instagram than Facebook right now. I mean, I definitely see that that is the space that, we're growing and we need to grow. We need to get better at. But right now it's just everybody, all like our customers are on Facebook, which I think is great because we're still on social media, but it gives us time to grow that audience on Instagram and still have a presence somewhere else. So that's kind of like what we're working on now.
As we're talking about going to Facebook and then Instagram, I hear a lot of noise in the Snapchat and the TikTok area. I mean, is that where it's going to go in 5 years? Do you see a lot of transition from Facebook and Instagram to that direction, in your opinion? Or do you think a lot of it's still going to be centered in the Facebook arena? Because I know a lot of our newer generations are staying away from Facebook. They are a lot more in Instagram, and they are literally migrating to the Snapchat, TikTok thing where it's a small kind of video, a lot faster. There's a lot more content available to the fingertips very quickly. Do you see us going into that mindset, that kind of social media area in that arena?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be the next 5 years, but definitely the next 10 years. As our older customer, this kind of just ages out, right? Like we do have to reach that younger generation. And you're right, they're not, someone in their 20s might have a Facebook, but they're not on there as much as they are Instagram or TikTok. And it's really, how do we reach that customer on social media? And we have to be where they are. But with TikTok specifically, and even Snapchat, I think that if it's not those specific social media outlets, it's going to be something else. The one thing that we all have to our advantage with Facebook and Instagram is the meta, powerhouse, and they stay competitive. So if some other company or social media platform is doing something better and everybody's migrating to that, then you see Facebook changing what they're doing to bring you back and bring the younger audience in. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Threads. Have you heard of that yet?
I have not.
Okay.
School me.
Yes. So Threads is Meta's version of Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. It is through Instagram, and you have a Threads profile, and it is basically like the old Twitter platform, and people are loving it. More and more people are adding to it, or getting it added to their social media world every day. I don't know if it's going to be a thing of the future, but that's an example of Facebook doing whatever it takes to be competitive to the other platforms. So I think TikTok is great. I think that it gives people an outlet to be creative, which is really what everybody wants to do. And with brands getting on there, I think that we have to have a presence. But the thing that I say, this is just my opinion, is that once a space starts getting clouded with a bunch of advertisements and ads, that's when people leave. So the most challenging thing for us is TikTok is full of influencers. But how do you get an influencer to promote our industry? That's tough, like, because we don't sell our own, products really. We're selling other brands, right? So we have to promote what we do and who we are, which again kind of just all goes back to what you should be promoting online anyway through SEO and other strategies. Is what's going to make you competitive is who you are as a company. Why would they want to go to you, not what you have to offer them?
That sounds like a huge hill to overcome. I've always felt weird about having somebody else do that, right? Because inside the RTO space, when you have, let's say you guys, Rent-to-Own is doing their marketing, and let's say CPO Group is doing their marketing, Buddy's doing their marketing, and Aaron's is doing their marketing, and Magic is doing their marketing. It's all Rent-to-Own based through Rent-to-Own companies who know what it takes to get that done. And I always felt like if you don't have somebody that is a spokesperson, in other words, somebody who comes in and just solely does the advertising for you as the person, as the face, right? And you give it to an influencer, I always feel like it's possible to go the opposite direction if it doesn't go in the right way that you expect, because that person might not be into the RTO mindset as some of us. And so I always feel like today it might be great, tomorrow it might not be. I mean, is that a challenge when you come across these new things, is just figuring it all out and getting it all processed, is how it's going to be tomorrow versus today?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like a challenge in the beginning, but it definitely is something you constantly have to think about. And I think that for me, I overthink a lot of things that probably shouldn't be thought about in the beginning. But for example, the TikTok thing, like, I would love to just be able to make funny dance videos in our store. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking, is that getting us rentals? How am I selling that, product? What else do we need? What else are we missing? And going back to the influencer thing, like, there can't be just somebody who doesn't know our industry representing us, because then it will fail. Because then, say we have, we'll just say Taylor Swift. I know this is an extreme example, but if Taylor Swift was the influencer for Rent-to-Own, people would be like, she doesn't rent to own. Like, I don't see her in a house like mine or owning anything that I own. So our best influencers, honestly, are the people in the stores, the CSRs, it's the managers, it's the people who believe in what they're doing and what they're selling to the customer. Those are the people that your customers see all the time.
I completely agree with that. I really do. That's why I haven't done it. That's why when they were coming up with faces and who do we want to do it, that's why I kind of stepped up, because I don't know if giving it to somebody else who doesn't really understand the space will really embody what we want to say to our customer base and how we want to be influenced that way as far as our customers. And so I agree with that right now. I don't know. I'm not saying that's forever, but I do agree that right now the best place for the marketing, the best faces for that would be the people in the industry, maybe the customers that have been with us for a long time and really understand it, or some of the faces that have been in the industry for a long time, or even the people that we have at the store who people see when they walk in or might click on and see on the online. And when they do that, I think it just gives a friendly face and it creates that relationship that sits a little bit better with the customers as of this point. And going through all that, what's probably the most important lesson you've learned? Going through all this, you've had some successes, you've had a couple of little failures, you've had people that have kind of helped you along. I mean, what's one of the biggest things you've learned about RTO marketing in your career?
Man, that it changes so fast, and you never know when a global pandemic is just hit you square in the face. No, I think the first thing that really comes to mind is you have to keep learning. I mean, you have to read the books and ask the questions and be curious, because there's always someone else in the room that has more experience than you, or who tried something that you've done, or your idea, and they've had more success than you have. So you just can't let that get to you, and you can't take that personal. You really need to look at that as an opportunity for yourself to learn from that person, and share ideas and share experiences. And it's way more fulfilling, honestly, than to think that you know everything or you have more knowledge than the next person. That's really the biggest thing that I've learned. And also just from traveling to the shows and going to the shows and meeting so many people and networking, is that the industry is not, shy of sharing ideas with each other. And I love that. I love going to shows and talking with people and hearing what they've done and trying, bringing that back, and then trying, something that they had said and tailoring it to our company. And I just love that. I love that this industry is 100% on board with, hey, I did this, you should try it too mentality. And also, I think the other biggest lesson I've learned is you have to disconnect from work at some point. You have to be present for the other important things in your life, or you're going to get burnout. It's not going to be fun anymore. So like, take the trip, go to the, birthday parties, or for me, it's like, take my grandma to breakfast or walk my dog. Whatever it is that you need to do, you must make the time to do it and shut off a little bit.
Well, that's why I love APRO. I mean, they encourage education and the exchanging of ideas. I was actually just reading in their past magazine, the one that just passed with Jerry Marshall on the cover. There are these, I don't want to say bylaws. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was a list of what APRO has in their setup. And when you read them, it actually is an encouragement of exchanging ideas for people that are in the industry. And I think that's so big. I mean, I think it's huge right now. Talking about books, because you just mentioned books, what books do you read that you think would help prepare somebody either in the marketing space or the rent-to-own space to just be better at what they do, that you've read?
Well, the last book that I just read, and I've read it before, but it's a really good book, is The Four Agreements. And it really just talks about, four agreements that you make with yourself to create joy, and just different things in your life. It kind of talks about like how you want to live your life each day and go about each day and create new experiences for yourself and be happy and things like that. And I think that's just the book that comes to mind. But I think it's a really powerful message, because you can really take the message in this book and tailor it to all aspects of your life, including what you do every day. And it's just like, these are agreements that you have to make within yourself. What do you want? And that's another thing too, is like, I'm going to talk about Mike Tizzett for a minute, but he asks us a lot of questions at his company, which one of the biggest questions that he used to ask, the most popular question, was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And, I hated answering that question, because I feel like my answer was always just generic, like I want to own a house, or I want to go on vacation, I want to get a new car, things like that. But I don't know if he just caught on to, everyone's generic answer and changed his technique from that. Or if he read something, because he's an avid reader, but now his questions have impact and really like make you think. For example, he asked things like, what juiced you up last week? Like, what got you going? What are you most proud of? And then right after that, he'll say, what drained you? What are you least proud of? Or like, who encouraged you this week? Who did you encourage this week? So impactful questions like that really make you feel like you accomplished something today, and then think about what you can do better tomorrow or next week. I know that his dad's very proud of everything he's done in the company and the success he's had, but he really encourages all of us to read and listen to podcasts, and he's given all of us the opportunity to be a part of Ryan Hawk's leadership training, which is good. So I think, yeah.
That's good. I definitely encourage you to listen to as many podcasts as possible. There is one that I would encourage you should listen to every single episode all the time.
Is it the RTO podcast?
It's the RTO Show podcast. So, because you got so much knowledge to share, what would you say going into all of this? What is something that you would say to a young Jess starting out, many, many years ago? What's a piece of advice that you would give that young Jess to say, hey, I think this is a key bit of information. This is a golden nugget that's going to help you understand and tailor this space a little bit better, tackle things and kind of figure it all out just a little bit better than what you know now.
I would say just be yourself. I mean, that sounds basic, but in the beginning of my marketing journey with Rent to Own, because I didn't come from a marketing background, and, I was like, we had Kate, who has a degree in graphic design. We have Mike, who does come from a marketing background. And then there's me, with business psychology. I worked at a bank. I'm like, there's no way I can do this. Like, I'm going to look like a fool. It really I held on to that for a while, and I did a lot of reading and things, and all those things are great. You want to learn as much as you can. But in the beginning, I did it more because I wanted to prove that I could do it, not from the fact that I did believe in myself. I did have confidence, but I let this mind stuff happen. And then it caused me to take a little longer to get on Facebook. Like, now I get on Facebook Live for the company, and it's not a problem. But in the beginning, I was like, well, I don't want to be the face of the company. Like, I'm just a nobody. I don't really know what I'm doing kind of thing. And now I'm like, I get on there and I'm myself, and customers interact with me, and they're like, we haven't seen you in a while, or, just in that from all over the company. So just be yourself. That would be the one thing that I would say. And just be yourself, be a team player, no matter how hard it is, because at the end of the day, everyone is here for the same reason. We all love helping our customers, and we're all going to get through it together.
The words of wisdom from Jess Mahon, the marketing director from Rent to Own, making it happen to RTO or Countryside Rentals, however that you want to put it over there in Ohio, doing great jobs, working for Mike Tissett. You guys are just killing it over there. We do appreciate it. Listen, thanks everybody for listening to the RTO Show. If you want to direct any questions to Jessica, please hit me up at the RTO Show at pete@thertoshowpodcast.com, or you can hit us up online. You can go to the social media platforms of Facebook or Instagram, look up the RTO Show. You can hit us up directly, and I will answer some questions. If we have enough, we'll bring Jess back on for a short period of time so she can answer those questions for you. If you like this show, like and subscribe anywhere that you get podcasts, Spotify, whether it's Google Podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts. We want you to know what's going on. You can always get new merch at www.thertoshowpodcast.com. And we are now on APRO's website. So if you haven't seen that, go on there. You can also listen to us at rtohq.org. That's rtohq.org. Jess, it's been great having you on. I am so glad that you had the time to tackle this and let us know what's going on at R2O and how it's been for the last couple of years, because it's been a rat race, hasn't it? It's been ups and downs and forwards and backwards, but you guys are tackling it amazingly, and we do appreciate all the wisdom and time that you can spend with us on the show today. We thank you so much, and tell your fiance he's doing a great job by keeping you focused and working on Rent to Own.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Jess. We'll catch you next time.
Hey guys, here's a word from our prime sponsor.
As always, the RTO Show is proud to be sponsored by the Association of Progressive Rental Organizations. APRO is consistently participating, educating, and watching candidly over the rent-own industry, and has been doing so since 1980. Keep track of the current and future events, meetings, and legislative gatherings by going to the website at rtohq.org. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to the RTOHQ magazine and newsletter. Also, if you're not a member of APRO, find out how to become one online at rtohq.org. That's it for the show today. Thank you for listening. And remember, you can also catch the RTO Show podcast on APRO's website at rtohq.org. Don't miss out. We'll catch you next time. Remember, keep your collections low to get your sales high. Have a great one.